6 years ago, I found myself silently pacing, circling the edges of a clearly defined compound. Surrounded by the awe-inspiring Himalayas, I had ended a 6-month traveling trip by heading to the very north of India and enrolling in a 10-day silent meditation retreat. Whilst the 39 other women that I had inadvertently chosen to spend the following days with retreated to the coolness of their rooms, I walked the cracked, uneven ground, determined to not get to the midday siesta. With absolutely no research, I thought it would be intriguing to partake in one of India's most ancient meditation practices, called Vipassana. So with a what have I got to lose attitude, I had trundled down a dirt track and was stripped of all my writing materials, books, phone, and music, assigned a room with 2 others, and began a grueling routine, starting with a gong, awakening us at 4 o'clock in the morning. What I didn't realize is that I would come out the other side with a very clear vision of a new business and know exactly how my life was about to completely change. I am the owner of Open House Deli here in Winchester, a sustainable kitchen and eco-store. When I first opened my doors in January 2019, I heard 2 women say, "Well, I wouldn't exactly call it a deli." So I really nailed it. To be honest, I've always found it difficult to define exactly what we do. I felt there was a huge gap in the market for somewhere that was more than a coffee shop, but less than a restaurant. Somewhere that really did make all the food from scratch, that was new and exciting and different, but also didn't cost the earth. I just didn't realize it would take me 10 days in silence to come up with the idea. For you to understand what led me to this point, I'll have to take you back a few years. I grew up here in Winchester, and ever since I can remember, I have been absolutely obsessed with food. This is me here. Oh. I couldn't talk yet, but I could point at a cupboard and oink to communicate that I was hungry. I studied food technology for GCSE and went on to do home economics for A-level. Others said, "What, you learnt how to iron a shirt and to whip up a Victoria sponge?" But for me, without even realizing, I was already carving a career around my obsession. Between college, uni, and school, I started working in various restaurants and fell in love with the absolute buzz of a Saturday night service. I've always been told that my life should be made up of stories, and boy, has hospitality done that for me. Unfortunately, though, only continue to paint the very stereotypical image we have of the industry. For example, when I was 18, I was locked in a private dining room and chased around the table by the chef. At 21, I saw our head chef get escorted out the building for GBH. And for a poor mystery diner score, I was forced into a walk-in fridge and made to scrub it clean. But despite all of that, it became my safety net. I just absolutely loved it. So when I left uni and landed my dream job, it was of course centered around food. I spent 6.5 years working for Unilever Food Solutions, part of the business that basically sells its famous brands in larger formats to chefs and caterers. But when a job promotion didn't go my way, I had to make some tough decisions. I handed in my notice, I broke up with my boyfriend, and I sold my London flat. I booked a one-way ticket to Sri Lanka and was living my very own eat, pray, love moment. But after 6 very tough solo traveling months, I was running out of steam. Here I was at 29, no job, no money, and no relationship. Whilst I saw my friends at the pinnacle of their careers, I knew I was ready for one more challenge. I'd done every single skydiving, bungee jumping, volcano hiking, glacier trekking, whitewater rafting adventure there possibly can be. I knew this one had to be different. So I made my way to Ladakh in the very north of India. After a brutal 48-hour public bus journey along one of India's most treacherous highways. It's only open between June and September and is often prone to freak flooding, landslides, and at a peak of 5,000 meters, it takes some acclimatizing to. It's really hard for me to recollect those 10 days. This was my reality. I had conjured up image of white fluffy bathrobes, cucumbers over my eyes, maybe a glass of champagne. No. So yes, it's really hard for me to conjure up that time. Only seeks to remind us how much we rely on our phones, photos, journals, and other people to jog our memories. I was here completely by myself. To give you an idea of our day, this was our timetable. Every morning we were told to start with a calm and quiet mind, alert and attentive. We were told to work patiently, diligently, persistently and consistently. To listen to our bodies from the top of our heads to the tip of our toes, knowing that any pain that we might have will pass. Well, of course, I spent those first couple of days, my mind wandering to those first initial big thoughts that you have, like, will I ever get married? What am I ever going to do with my career? Do I want babies? And what the hell am I doing here? But of course, there's only so much time you can mull over those things. And soon it allowed for a deeper exploration. I was completely by myself. No plan, no trajectory, no responsibilities. And soon I was allowed to really question some things about myself and be truly honest. I thought about, what do I really love? What are my passions? What can I do that feels less like a job and more like something that I can really enjoy? I never thought that my love of food could equate to a career. But don't they always tell you that you should do what you love? So when that light bulb moment came, it was all-consuming. Those crashing, tumbling thoughts, I just couldn't get it out of my head, and it allowed for one of those complete aha awakening moments. Have you ever had one of those? If you have, I bet the first thing you wanted to do was tell your best friend, your partner, or your colleague. Well, I couldn't. I still had 7 days to go, supposedly working patiently and persistently. But that calm and quiet mind was definitely out of the window. The days started to get tough. I had to give myself some motivational pep talks like, you can do this, and you have a strong mind. I guiltily allowed my mind to start wandering and bathing in the explosion of possibilities that my mind was absolutely fireworking. It would take over all the sessions and be my first and last thought of the day. I would silently congratulate myself at 9 o'clock as I walked out that meditation retreat, congratulating myself that I had made it through another day. When that final day did come, on day 11, I might add, I had to do another morning in silence. I very quickly checked myself into a guest house and started to unscramble my thoughts. I still have that book today. And by then, the image was so clear of what I wanted to create. I knew the physical layout of the shop. I knew the products I wanted to sell, and I knew the values that I wanted to hold. I could even tell you the atmosphere that I wanted to create. And I think that's why myself and the business have been so strong. Never has that vision wavered, even through those toughest times when I feared asking for help, when COVID has threatened to close us down, and now when the cost of living crisis is so tough, it's difficult to turn a profit. But of course, I had to make my way home and was very quickly hit with a dose of reality. I moved back in with my parents and started cooking out of their kitchen. That's me there having my 30th birthday on the market stall right here on Winchester High Street. But again, it really gave me that time to think about what I really wanted to do. I knew that I wanted to challenge that grab-and-go moment where we're so often reaching for those boring pre-packaged sandwiches, terrible salads, uninspiring meal deals that keep us so dissatisfied. And from my years in the industry, there were three key areas that I really wanted to tackle: the food, the packaging, and the people. So what do we do? Firstly, the food. This one is really clear and simple to me. I wanted it to make you feel good, and I wanted it to make you feel satisfied. So we make absolutely everything from scratch in our kitchen, from the paste to the chutneys to the dressings. So much so that one of my chefs had to leave from chopping so many vegetables. His wrist created an injury. But I can honestly tell you that this amount of scratch cooking is rare at our level in the industry. We also wanted to make a menu that was truly sustainable. What does that mean? We really do buy seasonally and locally. There's definitely no avocado on toast on the breakfast menu. And what that's meant is it's created a really close relationship with our suppliers. And that literally was our meal ticket through COVID, when nobody else could get hold of eggs, milk, or vegetables. I was hand packing and delivering over 60 boxes a day. It's also truly channeled my chef's creativity. When you've only got cavolo diro, cabbages, and celeriac to work with, and you're still selling out of salads in the midst of winter, you know that you've got a skillful team. Secondly, the packaging. When I was in India and I saw cows dying on the side of the road, and I returned home to see those plastic boxes on the shelves, it was an immediate correlation for me. I knew I had to tackle it. Hospitality has a huge issue with waste. 45% of it comes from food preparation, 21% from food spoilage, and 34% from your very own plates. I've designed a menu that tackles this by allowing you to pick or choose however much you want. There's none of those sad little salads with some balsamic glaze that you immediately push to one side. We also use all the produce that we have in the kitchen and also sell it to you out the front. Only when it starts to spoil do we start using it in our salads and our hot pots. I've also got a great tip for you that we do too. Put a bucket in your freezer, and any vegetable peelings that you don't use, pop it in there, and it can be used for a vegetable stock at a later moment. We have a very rigorous supply chain check. Anything that comes into our eco store goes through that, and we also only use 25 kilo bags to bring into our kitchen. Finally, the people. Hospitality has long been built up on a culture of long hours, split shifts, fiery tempered chefs, and lazy managers, and therefore has attracted people who are just looking for transitional in-between jobs. I wanted to create a place where people truly wanted a career. The focus was to make sure there was no divide between the kitchen and front of house. Certainly, as far as I know, nobody has been locked in a store cupboard. We have weekly team meetings, we take decisions, we make decisions together, and do that to improve our workflow and improve customer satisfaction. But most importantly, I wanted to have a team that really cared, that took pride in their work and relied on each other. The unexpected positive outcome of that has been the relationship we have created with our customers, and in turn getting to know them in their everyday lives. We've created a space that have brought together a community and built this hybrid working space, family gatherings, friendly catch-ups, quiet solitude. By sticking to these values, I've created a place that has naturally grown over the last couple of years and stood the test of this absolute roller coaster that hospitality is going through. It certainly allowed me to bring my love of food together with my career. Hospitality is definitely not for the faint-hearted, but if I'm going to continue to do it, I will continue to buck the trends. I also know that if I hadn't have spent those 10 days in silence, I wouldn't be here today. So I'll ask you this: if you had 10 days in silence, what could you reimagine?